Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Today is actually Thanksgiving Day. So, happy Thanksgiving, first off. And I do have a little bit of a video idea today. I have this little devotional that I read sometimes, and I've not read it in a long time. And for some reason this morning, I just wanted to read it. I wanted to read, a little lesson of it. So, I open it up and read that. But then, at this same point, I am listening to a T.D. Jakes sermon too. So I've got the devotional, of course, is by T.D. Jakes as well, but it's not saying the same thing, but it's kind of connected. And then I start thinking, and where my mind is at is kind of connected. Where my heart's at is kind of connected. And then last night I had, or yesterday evening, I guess you could say, the devil was battling me with something. And he will battle you, I'm trying to get this camera fixed. He will battle you mentally. Like, that's his, I think, best place. That is his playing field. He loves it. That's how he'll battle you. Or maybe that's not where he battles you. That's where he battles me. But I know that's a big thing for him. That's why you have, so many people suffering from depression, anxiety. They're overtaken by fear. They're overwhelmed, doubt, all this stuff. That's the devil. Okay? And he's battling me, and he's trying to get me, to doubt, to fear, to worry, to be upset or whatever about something. And I was like, I ain't doing this. So I went to my prayer closet. I know how to battle. I don't always make that right choice and do the right thing, but I know how to battle. God's shown me and taught me how to battle. So I went to my prayer closet and I prayed. And that's the only way to battle. Honestly, for anything, that's the only way to battle. And if you pray first, it changes everything. It completely changes the situation, your perspective, everything. So I went and I prayed, and I was like, God, please help me not to pick this up. I've laid this down. I've let this go. God, please help me to just not pick this up again. To not do this. And God just come by, and it just hit me. God, you've already brought me out of this. You've already brought me out. You've already helped me. I'm not going back there. I'm not going to the past. I'm not going back and repeating all of the stuff, the little tricks that the devil would play, and the dysfunctional behavior and all this stuff. I'm not doing that. God, you've brought me out of it. I know where you brought me from. And the Lord, we just had us a time. I rejoiced in the Lord, and God gave me victory over that. He gave me victory in the battle. He reminded me that I don't have to fight that because He's delivered me from it. And then He does something else that doesn't even really involve me. And I just rejoiced more because I was like, God, you're just answering prayers that I'm not even speaking. And that's what brings me back to what I was meaning about this little devotional and what I read, and how everything was kind of connecting, because it mentioned Moses and how, you know, God was telling him to go do something, and he was like, but who am I? How I can't do that. You know, he had every excuse in the world not to do it. And that's where we are. That's where we get sometimes. And maybe you're like it. Maybe you're there right now. Maybe you've been there, or maybe you will be there. But God knows you. He knows your heart. He knows your thoughts. He created you. He knows you better than you know yourself. You can do this. God is not going to call you to do something that you can't do, that you do not have the ability, the talent, just to be able to endure it, the strength. God's not going to call you to something and not be right there beside you. He's not going to send you somewhere and not meet you there. I mean, why do we let the devil tell us all these lies, trick us into believing that we can't do something that we know God's given us to do, that God's called us to do? Why we let him fill us with fear and doubt and think, well, I'm nothing and I can't do that and this and this and this? That's the devil. God knows you. God created you. What he's given you to do, what's in your heart, what God has given you in your heart, your dreams, your goals, your purpose, your calling, whatever that is, and you know what that is. You know in your heart what that is. Stop letting your mind tell you lies and tell you, no, I don't know what it is, or whatever. You know in your heart what that is. God has given that to you. God's revealed that to you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Even just a tiny little glimmer, maybe not every single piece, but you know that is for you. That is not for nobody else. And nobody else is going to agree with it. Nobody else is going to understand it. You're most likely going to have a lot of people telling you how crazy you are, how naive you are, how, well, that'll never work, or you can't do that, or what, you know, like, nobody's going to understand, because it's yours. God did not give it to them. He gave it to you. People will always, and this is something that I caught this morning that T.D. Jakes said on his message, that just like, I was like, God, that is good. That is good stuff. You know, you have them moments you hear just good stuff that helps you. And he said, people will always be disappointed when, in other words, when you choose something that's different from what they've chose, you know, that's different from what they think you should do. And I can't remember the exact words that he used, but in a roundabout way, people have an idea for you, or people have an idea of what life is supposed to be, you know, their choices for life. And when you go against that, when you choose something different, especially if your family's been like, well, we've always done this, and our people always do this, and then you're the one that pops up and says, well, I'm going to go do this, that's completely different, everybody's going to be like, well, you can't do that. That's just not how things are. That's not what we do. As human people, humans don't do this, and then you pop up and you're like, well, God's given me this, and I think this is what we should do. Nobody's going to agree with that or understand it. I mean, it's a given, and we have to get out of that place of worrying about what anybody else has to say, what anybody thinks. And this can be people that love you, family, they love you, they want you to do good, and they're really speaking from a place of love. They really feel like they're telling you right, and their heart's in a good place, but it doesn't align with what God's given you. And yes, I still don't have a good mount for the camera. So if I hit a curve, it's gonna go flying. But God has given you, specifically you, your specific purpose, your specific thing. Don't listen to anybody else and what they think you should do. And you don't have to be mean about it. You can listen. You could say, I love you. I know you love me. I appreciate your opinion. You know, I understand what you're saying, but I know what God's given me, and that's what I'm going to do. That's just what we have to do. But you can do this. Stop telling yourself that you can't. Stop having all these excuses and, well, God, I just don't understand, and I just don't see it, and you know, this, and this. When you can see God moving, you can see God aligning things, you can see God making a way. But just because the devil's in the details, like that's a little saying that you've heard, but I thought about that yesterday and I was like, the details don't matter. Literally, the devil's in the details, because God doesn't give you all the details. You don't need all the details. He's giving you what you need. Do it. Run to the future. Put away the things of the past and run toward that higher calling. Run toward what God's given you. If you got to do it alone, and trust me, I can speak from experience, a lot of times you're going to be alone. You're going to be doing it alone. People are going to think you're crazy. They're going to talk about you. You're going to hear stuff about yourself that you have no idea where it came from. You were not there for it. But yet, it was about you and you did it. I mean, that's just what you're going to deal with. And Jesus said that they hate us because of Him. Don't take things personally, okay? They're going to hate you. Especially if you're trying to do what God's given you. This road's really bumpy. And they're trying to help you, or you're trying to help them. They're going to hate you. They're going to try to avoid you, things like that. Don't take it personally. It's Him that they're running from, not you. But I love you guys. I'll be praying for you. Please be praying for me. Like I said, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you're spending it with family. You're happy. And just hold on to what God's given you. And you can do it. Make the choice and do it. It's going to be hard, but you can do it and it'll be worth it. Because it's for you. You're not going to feel at home. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be where you know you need to be unless you're doing what you were created to do. You are answering that calling that God's given you. I love you guys, and I'll see you later. Have a great day.